Too kind. Thank you. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you all. You're very kind. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Some of us have a dance to get to. We should do this. Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, Senator McKinney, Representative Cafaro, my fellow state officials, ladies and gentlemen of the General Assembly, honored members of the judiciary, honored guests, a special mention to my close friend and the world's best running mate, Lieutenant Governor Nancy Wyman. And another special mention to my friend, the former First Lady Nikki O'Neill, the wife of the late, great Governor Bill O'Neill. To all of the former speakers and leaders of the Senate who are here, thank you very much for joining us as well. To my very extended family who are with me today, and to all of my friends who have joined us today, and to all of the citizens of Connecticut represented in this room and watching us on TV. I want to thank you for joining us. And to the four people who mean the most to me, my wonderful wife, my partner and best friend, Kathy, and our three sons, Dannel, Ben, and Sam. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here to mark a crucial cornerstone in our democracy, the transference of responsibilities and the conveyance of hope for our collective future from one gubernatorial administration to the next. Before I begin, I would like to make three important notes. First is to acknowledge the great service of Governor Rell, who stepped in to the role of governor in a different type of crisis, a crisis of confidence and character, and a crisis in confidence in the character and intentions of its leadership. She worked tirelessly to restore that sense of respectability, and she will hold a special place in our hearts and our history because of her efforts. Governor Rell. Second, I would like to congratulate all of you seated here today for your victories in last year's elections, both returning members and newcomers. You are seated in a hall surrounded by history that echoes of lawmakers who over the centuries were called to the same higher purpose, that is public service. I want to congratulate each of you. Thank you for your service. And thirdly, I'd like to acknowledge the heroic service of the brave men and women from our great state of Connecticut serving in the armed forces. They're serving in two wars and across the globe today. I hope and pray that we will have peace someday soon, and I want to thank them for their dedication to their country. Thank you. I believe that what is in our history and what is in our hearts is intertwined to create a DNA of sorts that defines us as a people. Connecticut has a storied 375-year history, one rooted in the political and military founding of this great nation, one driven by industrial, political, and artistic innovation that has become the signature of our people over time. Today, though, as has happened from time to time over the centuries, we are faced with considerable challenges, I dare say a crisis of historic proportions. We are indeed at a crossroads of crisis and opportunity. We will need to reach deep to our roots, those of strength, yet compassion, steadfastness, yet innovation. And most importantly, we will need to solve our problems together by pursuing with great urgency, not Republican ideas or Democratic ideas, but good ideas that know no political master or agenda. We will do these things so that in our future we can celebrate shared prosperity for us all, which on balance can only come from shared sacrifice from each of us. Today then marks quite a bit more than the singular act of transition from one gubernatorial administration to another. It is a demarcation between where we have been and where we are going, about remembering who we are and what we are capable of when it counts the most. Perhaps Connecticut's Governor Wilbur Cross captured it best in 1936 Thanksgiving Proclamation, when he wrote to the people of Connecticut and gave thanks. Thanks for the blessings that have been our common lot and have placed our beloved state within the favored regions of earth. For the richer yield from labor of every kind that has sustained our lives, for honor held above price, for steadfast courage and zeal in the long, long search after truth. As Governor Cross so eloquently pointed out, we, the people of Connecticut, are blessed. We come from good stock, and it is within that historical context that I stand before you, a deeply humbled man. Many observers say that this has been a 6-year journey for me, from the point when I first started considering a run for this office, but in many ways it started much earlier. Growing up, as you know, I had learning disabilities that might have left me on the fringes. Back then, there were not programs to identify and support children with disabilities. But luckily for me, there was the inspiring dedication and skill of school teachers who touched my life, and there was the sheer willpower of a mother of 8 children. My parents both worked while raising a large family, but my mother, who was a nurse, knew I was different. She knew I had challenges, but she never let those challenges overshadow my strengths. She focused her children on the importance of character, hard work, dedication, and love of family. And she repeatedly challenged us to leave this world a better place than we had found it. Not unlike what we need today for our great state. I believe we need to focus on our strengths and acknowledge that there are no challenges before us that we cannot fix with hard work, dedication, and getting in touch with the collective character which is our heritage. In many ways, the adversity that I faced growing up and the adversity Connecticut faces today are intersecting at this crossroads of crisis and opportunity. So today we gather to talk about how to leave Connecticut a better place than how we found it. We must reach back to our heritage for fortitude, to make an honest assessment of where we are, and to join together to define our collective future as a people. It will require us to think differently, to compare how things have been done in the past, and to take a different path forward. I'm reminded of renowned poet Robert Frost, a fellow New Englander, when he wrote The Road Not Taken. 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Today I see a crisis, an economic crisis, and an employment crisis fueled by an unfriendly employer environment, a lack of educational resources, a deteriorating transportation system, and an enormous budget crisis of historic proportions, all coddled by a habit of political sugarcoating that has passed our problems on to the next generation. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the next generation is here. We will conjure up the true grit and courage of our heritage and take the road less traveled, because Connecticut has met great challenges before. In the War of 1812, when the British blockade crippled our import business, we pivoted to innovating machine tools and industrial technology. Thanks to the likes of Eli Whitney and other world-class inventors, they sparked a string of firsts, from the cotton gin to the portable typewriter to color TV, from the lollipop to the Frisbee. In our innovative heyday, we had more patents issued per capita than any other state in the Union. We defined the American Industrial Revolution and became the arsenal of democracy that President Roosevelt called for in World War II. Only we started a century earlier by playing a pivotal role in the Civil War and continued through both World Wars and the Cold War. In the 1960s, after all, we built the first nuclear submarine. And our mighty economic presence intertwined with a different kind of strength. In the mid-1800s, Prudence Crandall ran a school for African-American girls in the face of discrimination and death threats. And in doing so, she defined the edges of equality and the power of education to change us all for the better. We shattered the glass ceiling of gubernatorial history thanks to Ella Grasso of Windsor Locks as the nation's first female governor elected in her own right. Our heritage also includes literary and artistic heroes of global proportions. We became the home of Harriet Beecher Stowe, Mark Twain, P.T. Barnum, and the founder of Webster's Dictionary. And of course, we are still home to America's oldest continuously published newspaper, our own Hartford Courant. We have, after all, overcome events beyond our control, ferocious hurricanes, blizzards, and devastating floods. And more recently, when the planes hit on 9/11, and I remember this as mayor of Stamford at the time, I remember how we all went into rapid response mode, ramping up our hospitals and preparing for the wave of transported victims we would be receiving. But of course, they never came. Instead, we counted the unclaimed cars that remained in commuter parking lots. We mourned, and we persevered.